Started?
Yep.
All right. So what I'm going to do again is put my flux on there. This flux comes as a paste, but I like to add a little water and make it a little bit watery than normal, and that works good. Now you can do the same thing as you did on the inside of the bezel if you want. Put some little snippets on the outside of your wire here and just heat it up till it flows underneath that wire. But I'll show you how to do it a quicker way. You can see at this point where the other solder is already flowing. So all I got to do is go around the outside when it gets to that temperature and just put a little on the outside edge. Heat it up evenly and it will flow over the whole thing. At this point here, some people would take a saw and saw off the excess. If you'd like to do that, that's a good way to do it. It's if you're learning, it's a good way to practice to learn how to do to saw on your silver work. I'm going to use the shears. These are ones I've always used. There are bigger shears that I've seen that work quite well. With these type of shears, I can just basically cut around it and don't have to cut off straight pieces. I can make curved cuts. All around. I'm still going to want to clean that up a little bit, and because I like power tools rather than files, I'll do it with a power tool. But you can take your file and file off those edges. I like to use my heatless wheel or Mizzy wheel and take off those edges. So those are all cleaned off pretty good. I'm just going to let it sit in the pickle while I make my shank for this ring. That will clean it up and make it easier to solder. I'm going to take some 3mm half round wire for this one and show you how to split it to make a split shank ring. I'm going to make it probably about a size 7, somewhere in there. This is not for an order or a particular person. It's just going to be one that I'll put on my website to sell. After I've cut the piece, I'm going to take my jeweler's saw and just split it down the center about a ½ inch of the way. If you don't have an inside ring stamp, then you can lay this down and stamp it while it's flat, and put your silver stamp in there, or a hallmark if you have it. You could do the same thing at this point with the bezel cup that we just made. You could stamp it there. Usually what I do with the bezel cup would be to find one of my dapping tools that will fit in here, and then I can put this in a vise, set this on here, and stamp my hallmark and sterling in the back of here if I wanted to do that. That's another way that I do it. I use these pliers a lot for shaping all of my shanks, and I'll take my bench knife, split this apart, so it's got a couple of Y's on the end. If you know what size ring you want to make this, you can put it on your mandrel. Use your rawhide mallet. We were saying maybe a 7 would be about good for this. So you get the shank shaped. That's about a 7. You want your prongs to match up here on the top so that they're even. Now we'll file them flat so that it will lay on the back of the bezel and stay there while we solder it. So those are filed down flat. Gives us a nice flat surface to solder on. More flux. Try and make sure that your shank is sitting in the exact spot that you would like to have it when as a finished product. If it's not, you can move it by heating it up and moving it just a little bit. But if you do it right the first time, it's a lot easier than moving it. So I'm just going to heat it up. I don't know if you can get in here close, Jeremiah, or not. Yep. We'll just heat this up. The edge of the prongs, let's say, for this shank, you don't want to heat them more than the other area because they can melt on you before anything else. So I'm about the temperature and I just have to touch it and it flows in and fills in that spot. Oops, I moved it. I soldered the one prong and then I moved it by mistake because I shake quite bad, so it's not quite straight. I'm gonna have to straighten it up. So this is a good way to learn how to do this. So I can scoot that down after the solder on that one. That's not what I wanted to do.
That's an edit.
Shaking so bad today. Oh. There. Now they're all soldered. At this point, I like to put it on my mandrel and make sure that it's straight. Right at a size 7. These can be sharp on the inside, so you can either file those down with a file, or I use a smaller heatless wheel usually to make sure that they're not sharp in there. Anytime you're working on a ring, before you finish it up and say it's done, stick your finger in there and see if it's sharp and feels comfortable. I'm just going to grind these down a little bit. They feel good at this point. We'll shut the video off and